Hi, everybody, and thank you for tuning in today to Plant Fueled Passion. Today, I am sharing something awesome with you, which is that I have been plant based now for 6 years and very successfully, I might add. So, I really want to share about that journey with you. So, sit back, grab a cup of tea, and get cozy. So, I've logged a number of your questions that I'll try to answer as many as possible today, but I'm going to be starting with my story. So 6 years ago, I went plant-based because I had been struggling for 6 years prior with something called fibroadenomas. Now, this was fibrous cysts that came up in my chest or my armpits, and they would have to be surgically removed when they came up. And over time, they became more strange, and they would have higher growth rates, and they became just more prolific in general. So this was scary enough for anybody of that age to be dealing with. And at a certain point, my mom sent me the documentary Forks Over Knives. And at the point that she sent me Forks Over Knives, I had just had surgery. And at the surgery, they had done an ultrasound prior to it, and they had found 3 more cysts in my chest. And they said, we can't remove these right now. We'll have to schedule further surgeries down the line so we don't cause too much stress to your chest. So it was a little overwhelming. And when my mom sent me this documentary, I wasn't really prepared for what the outcome would be, and I didn't really think that it would be any help because, quite frankly, the doctors had told me we don't really get what causes this and we can't really tell you what to do. So I didn't have a lot of hope at the time. But I watched the documentary and I felt totally empowered to take care of my own health. And pretty much from that day forward, I've been plant-based. So I went to the doctor 6 months later to have her check my chest, and there were no tumors to be found. So everything that was in my chest had disappeared. So from there on out, I was like, not going back. This is too good. I am a total convert and I don't need the meat or the cheese. As good as I think it is, I'm not going back. So that's why I went plant-based. And in the beginning, it was definitely a little bit hard because I had come from a very rich culinary background. My dad was always making amazing dishes in the kitchen. And at that point in my life, I loved taking on a cooking challenge, like a rack of lamb or pork chops. And I thought I was getting quite good at it. But this meant that I was going to have to totally overhaul my kitchen and start fresh, start learning new skills, learn what the heck water sauteing was. But I did it, and it was actually a really good creative catalyst to me really falling in love with cooking all over again and just learning more about this new style. The other hard part was that I was still a little addicted to cheese. Now, I didn't indulge in cheese in the beginning, but cheese really provokes this addictive response from us, and there's a reason that we crave it biologically, albeit it's not that good for us. But yeah, that was one that I really struggled with in the beginning. But as of now, there's tons of things you can make cheese out of: potatoes and carrots and onions. Like, we make that all the time and it totally satisfies that craving. So it's not really an issue anymore. So those were the hardest things in the beginning. What was I eating in the beginning? I was doing a little bit of the whole foods plant-based kind of thing, but I was also eating a lot of basically processed vegan alternatives to what I was eating. So a lot of the, frozen pizzas that were vegan, and like vegan lasagnas, vegan enchiladas, vegan ice cream. And that was around then, and it's around even more so now. But I learned that that wasn't as great for my health, so that has since been something that I've discontinued, and I really identify more with the plant-based movement, which means that you're really focusing on the whole foods, getting them as close to their natural form as possible. So let's see, what did I notice change right away? So before being vegan, I did have a little bit of an eating problem where I would either binge and go whole hog, no pun intended, into eating, as much as I could over the weekend and finishing entire plates of nachos by myself and then not eating at all. So I really struggled with that. and my weight was up and down and all over the place because of that. And then as soon as I went vegan, I started noticing that my weight was stabilizing and it was going to a pretty healthy place. I also noticed that my skin cleared up and my digestion became more regular, and obviously my tumors disappeared. So there was a plethora of positive changes that I noticed right away. Did I have any issues over time in the last 6 years? So yes, after things stabilized, about 2 years after things stabilized and I was doing really well, Josh and I met my husband, Josh, and we moved to Hawaii, and Kauai specifically, and there was just, I don't know what it was. Oh, we had a roommate, Levi, whom is still one of our best friends, and he worked at a bakery, and he would bring home the leftover bread all the time. And every single night, the three of us, well, four of us, we had another roommate, were chowing down on all this leftover bread. We were making coconut curries, and we were picking up vegan ice cream, and we were eating tons of macadamia nuts and tons of avocados. And I started to notice some serious weight gain, and it almost felt uncontrollable. And I'm not lying, I put on probably 20 pounds in, 9 months. And that was a lot for me and my frame. And I didn't feel very healthy, and I felt very bloated, but I wasn't paying enough attention to what I was eating to even get it at that time. So that was one thing that I struggled with. And then another thing that I struggled with in the last about 2 years was that I really became pretty backed up at a certain point and had some serious digestive issues. And these times really coincided with some, family traumas and moving and big life changes where I just wasn't focused on my diet. And so since then, I learned that I actually have a pretty decent sensitivity to coconut. I can't overdo it. I can't do the coconut ice cream. I can't do the coconut curries all the time. And I have to kind of pay attention because my body has an inflammatory response to it. So those are things that I struggled with, but I've been able to really easily course correct. And that's what I love about plant-based eating, is that you can just come right back on track like that without having to really do any super deep digging. And in fact, I actually got what do they call it? Hydrocolonic. And it was one of the stupidest, worst experiences that I've had in my life. And I shouldn't have done that. I really should have just started eating more beans and drank some aloe vera juice. That was all I needed. But for some reason, I needed to explore that possibility, and it was dumb. In my book anyway. I didn't like it. So I'm sure it serves some people, but that particular experience and facility, So how do I eat now? So right now I follow what I would call kind of like an 80-10-10, where most of my nutrition is coming from really awesome carbs, like sweet potatoes and bananas and regular potatoes and beans. Oh, I love beans so much. And then I eat, I would say, like a garnish of fat every day, and I always try to focus on eating whole food fats as much as possible, so nuts or seeds or avocados, but I really don't like to do the oil thing because it's a little too processed for me and my body doesn't love it. And we reserve it for occasions when we need it for a particular cooking method, but that's pretty rare. And then a little protein too. And that's something I want to touch on, is that I've found that you actually don't need as much protein as we've been told, and that's been kind of marketed. You really, at least I, like to abide by the rule that you should eat 1/3 of your body weight in grams of protein. So let's say, for example, that you're 90 pounds, and none of us are 90 pounds that I know of, but 1/3 of that would be 30, and then you would eat 30 grams of protein. And that's totally not hard if you're eating enough beans and legumes, and protein is in everything. It's in kale. So I also don't do a lot of supplements. I take B12 when I remember it, which is maybe twice a week, but I've really found quite a bit of success without supplements, just eating whole foods. You have tons of vitamins in there. and trying to eat from, your local farmers or even your own backyard, if you're so privileged to do that. I mean, you're getting a lot of great kind of micronutrients and minerals just from eating from the earth. So my favorite foods, those right now are pinto beans. I love pinto beans. I don't even know why people make chili or anything more complex than just a bowl of beans, because they're so damn good. I love pinto beans. My kind of long-term fave is sweet potato with avocado and a little rice and some kale or Swiss chard. I love that so much. So my favorite foods are actually really simple, and that's definitely kind of the style of eating that I take on right now, is just super simple because it's so easy on my body, so easy to digest. And of course, we just moved with no spices in our cabinets and no real stock in our pantry. And so eating simply has been easy enough to do for us. So long-term effects. I would say the biggest long-term effect is that I've been super stable. Health-wise, weight-wise, it's just so easy to maintain. And I don't have to think about my weight very much. And it's such a gift. It's such a gift. Growing up, I never had that. My weight was always up and down, and I just thought that that's how weight was, is that you always had to pay attention to it. But I don't have to pay attention to it, and it's really a huge gift. So, I can even overeat, I can undereat, and I don't undereat, but your body just knows what to do with plants. It's amazing. We were made for it. So I'm wrapping up here. What do I want to work on in the future? I would love to learn how to really grow a lot more of my own food and provide for myself a lot more than relying on these other systems and countries and imports. And that used to be the American way, and we've really gotten away from that. And I'd really like to incorporate more of that in my life, because I think that it could have some really amazing health benefits long term, and just reducing the stress of, when a pandemic hits and grocery stores are running out of things left and right, just being able to take peace of mind and knowing that you're providing for yourself. And I want to eat more greens. I eat probably 1 to 2 servings at least every day right now, with a bunch of pantry staples being our stock. We're not eating a ton of greens, and so I'm really excited to incorporate more of that when I feel like going back to the store. But I don't want to go to the store right now. And let's see, inspiration moving forward. I love just keeping up to date with my favorite docs. Right now, Dr. Greger is one of my favorites. The sort of original gangsters, Dr. Esselstyn, Dr. Campbell, Dr. Barnard, Dr. McDougall. Those guys are all super inspiring, and I'm really ready to start learning about more female docs too. So if you know of female plant-based doctors, please inform me. And I just like staying in the loop. And then in the last one, I really want to give a shout out to my mom. She does On Finding Good Food and Health, and she's really just such a beautiful resource for anybody that wants to learn anything plant-based. She just really wants to be there for people. She wants it to be easy and accessible, and I love that about her. She's such a humanitarian, and she believes in people so much. So that's it, you guys. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out. I love talking about this stuff, and I totally thrive on this. So I believe that it's a good choice for people, for the planet. And that's what I've got for you today. So thank you to everybody who's made this possible for me. I feel so privileged over the years to have such a supportive family and friend group. I love you all, and take care, everyone. Mwah.